Do you know what this is? It's a spaghetti squash. It's actually a very small spaghetti squash. Usually they're like this big. I got this at my local farmer's market. Organic, pesticide-free, etc., etc. This squash is full of potential for all sorts of really cool dishes. So the tastiest way to prepare this, but the most time-consuming way, is to roast it. I'm actually going to microwave it. Easiest way to prep it for the microwave is with this big mighty knife. So you just poke. You don't have to be really pretty or careful, just don't stab yourself. But just prick it all over with little holes so that it won't explode in your microwave. And then an ordinary spaghetti squash you want to microwave on high for like 12 to 20 minutes, depending on the intensity of your microwave. This little guy, probably about 10 to 12 minutes. While you weren't looking, I grated some Parmesan cheese, about half a cup, and I chopped up about 15 Brussels sprouts. I also pulverized 2 large cloves of garlic, though you can't see it. Oh, how big you're getting. You want to give this squash a few minutes to rest because it's very hot inside. I already have a large wok, skillet. You could use a skillet, but I'm using a wok, with a couple tablespoons of olive oil in it. And I'm just going to put the squash directly in there. Composter handy. So you slice it down the middle, and steam escapes. What you need to do first is scrape out the seeds and the stringy stuff that's in the inside, just with a spoon. And do this very delicately because the flesh of the squash comes away, if you haven't seen this before, in little strings itself, like pasta. So basically just pull anything out that's the seeds or around the seeds. And it's not the end of the world if you don't get all the seeds out either, because they're edible. You can in fact roast these later and treat them like pumpkin seeds. For the rest of the flesh, this is where things get fun. You need a mighty fork, and you want to pick at it very slowly so that the strings of flesh can come away. Hopefully that was a good shot. And as I said, I'm just going to put them directly into this cold wok with olive oil in it. Ordinarily I'd be doing this on the stove with it on the heat, but my camera's not set up that way. Hang on a sec. There we go. And I have this wok on medium heat. And I'm just scraping the insides of the squash in there. You can also cook the squash in advance and take all this flesh out of it and then cook with it later after it's kept in the fridge for a while. Now, there's no particular order in which these things need to be added to the pan, so go ahead and add the Brussels sprouts that you've already chopped. Garlic as well. There's no chance it'll burn with all the vegetables in the pan. Give it a little toss. So in case you haven't figured it out already, this dish is ridiculously healthy, very rich in nutrients, and very low in calories also. It's an excellent dish for vegans. There's a couple minor adjustments you need to make towards the end. It's also a great dish for gluten-free people, and it's also a good dish for paleo people if you want to have a piece of meat on the side. And it's also just a great dish in general because it tastes good, damn it. So for the start of the cooking process, you want it on here on medium, high-ish heat for a few minutes. Stir it around, give it plenty of room. Himalayan pink sea salt. A little white pepper. As you may remember from my award-winning Brussels sprouts episode from a few seasons back, you do not want to overcook Brussels sprouts. That kills them, and it makes them smell and taste disgusting. So the entire cooking time on, like, once your Brussels sprouts hit the pan, you don't want to cook this dish any more than maybe 7 to 8 minutes, depending on how thick you cut them. Turn the heat up to high at this point. So we're going to add a little white wine. I mean, look at it. It's almost like 100% vegetable matter. I love the colors in this, too. Alright, once your wine is bubbling and boiling like crazy, like it's going to explode, Add a half a cup of homemade chicken broth, or chicken broth. This is where if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you could add vegetable broth. Once that's come to the simmer, lower the heat and put a lid on it. And we're going to simmer this for about 5-ish minutes. The Brussels sprouts are starting to get tender, but they're not quite yet done. They're still a very bright green look. If those Brussels sprouts are gray, just turn off the stove, throw it away, and start all over again. It's not even worth it. So at this point, we want to evaporate off a lot of that excess moisture. A little bit of moisture is okay, but we don't want it to be a soup. So turn up the heat to medium, high, and just stir it here and there. Have your cheese ready. Take that plate that you had your stuff on earlier and just put it over a burner on low. It should take just about 3 minutes total to evaporate off all the moisture that we want to evaporate off. It's almost there right now. So when it's just about done, turn off that heat and stir in that parm. This is another part where if you're a vegan, you could deviate and either omit the parm or use some weird tofu cheese stuff.
And behold, its bright, beautiful, healthy goodness.
So whether or not you made a resolution to be healthier or eat healthier or whatever, I highly recommend that you make and eat this, especially when it is winter and autumn and these vegetables are in season. Because it is not only pretty easy to make, extremely healthy, but it's also very delicious.